For most people, the idea of owning a watch from Rolex or Cartier or Patek Philippe is in and of itself a dream. Nonetheless, a truly great watch from one of those brands. The next level, the God tier level, to use Nico Leonard's term, is custom watches. So today we're going to be talking about how you could possibly get a custom watch from one of those brands and how some people have done it before and the types of premiums that they go for on the secondary market. We're talking about millions.
This isn't where we usually film.
Oh, we're in Germany. Wake up now.
Sorry.
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Vintage Watch Shop.
My name is Michael, and this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Do you need a website or domain?
I don't right now, but many of you do. More on our partners later.
Yes.
Okay, so today's episode is really interesting. We're going to be talking about a couple of Rolexes, and I'm going to show them to you right now.
Yes.
First is a unique platinum Rolex Yacht-Master. The next is a very simple Rolex Oyster Perpetual for Domino's.
Oh.
The next is a Rolex GMT reference 6542, but in a almost impossibly rare white, quote-unquote, albino dial. The next is a Rolex Daytona with a rare blue dial in yellow gold.
Okay.
The next is a Henry Graves super complication from Patek, Bamford, and Artisans de Geneve. So this whole conversation kind of came about because we're here at Nomos in Glashütte, Germany. We've got a great film coming out with them soon. It's going to be really incredible. You're going to love it. But
yes,
they opened up this drawer of prototype dials.
This 20 drawers.
20 drawers.
60 boxes.
Prototype dials and things that haven't gotten released, and they can almost tell you why it didn't and why it would, or who a particular limited was collaborated with, or all these different things, right? And it got both Michael and I thinking in our spare time about if you could get a custom watch, what would you do, or how would you do it?
Yeah.
So that's why this whole conversation came to be. We'll talk more about Nomos later, but we're going to focus on some big brands for now. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
I actually like the Yacht-Master. But it's a bit of an ugly duckling in the Rolex collection.
You like the Yacht-Master as in the original or as in the rose golds?
Oh, no, I like the originals.
Wow.
Yeah,
Rare take that is, yeah.
Not to say that I would buy one, because I most certainly wouldn't. It's just, I'm not a big sports watch guy, right?
Yes.
We know this.
Right.
Would you question, but...
I would never, but
Yeah.
you're definitely a sports watcher.
Yeah.
Wait, what are the watches you're looking at really quick?
I'm looking at the 5712 and the Royal Oak Chrono.
Oh, and the Platinum Yacht-Master.
No, I'm not-
and a Submariner PVD'd.
But long story short, I think these watches they are ugly ducklings, right? Because functionally they're just Submariners with platinum bezels, and you're told to think that it's
And less
different.
water resistance.
And less water resistance.
Yeah.
And they're not that, they're not that unique. The new Yacht-Masters, obviously with the Oyster Flex bracelets, are more unique, right? There's a point of differentiation there that separates them, and I really enjoy those. But this Yacht-Master is different.
Right.
Why? Because it is $2,390,000 more expensive. And all you're getting in exchange is a couple of little diamonds, a couple of little baby diamonds,
worth nothing,
a couple of little baby sapphires, and a platinum bracelet.
Wow. And platinum case?
Platinum case, platinum bracelet.
Wow.
You're basically talking about maybe an extra 12K, 15K in hard, in hard cost.
Keeping in mind that what this plays off of is the Yacht-Master that had a platinum bezel. So that's why we're not counting the bezel. That's why we're being so specific.
Exactly. Okay, what is the story? How did this watch come to be? There's a Heiniger family, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly.
We are in Germany.
We are in Germany, that ran Rolex South America for some time and ultimately continued to have, leadership positions over the decades in the 20th century at Rolex, ultimately being in marketing and then in leadership, I believe as high as CEO. He had a fascination with the Yacht-Master and wanted his own Yacht-Master, but wanted a special Yacht-Master, right?
Course,
wanted something that was interesting, and he coincided kind of the celebration with the celebration of the 10 millionth Rolex chronometer.
Rolex was only in business for 10 years since then?
10 millionth Rolex chronometer, which is incredible. So that is maybe the most interesting part of this watch. The metal is not inherently interesting, but that stamp is.
Exactly.
That this movement is the 10 millionth Rolex chronometer.
Is there anything on the back that says that? Oh, it says it on the dial.
On the dial, which makes it special.
You know what they should put there instead? Not for resale.
Yeah, that is a reference to the new Hodinkee Hublot, which no one gets. Talk actually about that later as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is this watch. If it did not have the historical significance that it does, this would be, if a regular Yacht-Master is $10,000, maybe this would be 40,
assuming,
right, with the platinum, 40, let's say 50 with the platinum maybe.
Assuming it had a run. It wasn't a one-off.
Assuming it had a run.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 grand. About $50,000, and it sold for $2.8 to $2.4 million, right? Big difference there.
Yeah.
Very significant. And the question is, and we'll go one by one with these different watches.
Sure.
Rightfully so. Do you think this watch is worth the $2.32 million premium?
Worth it, I will say, with a big realization that we all know where we are right now in the watch world.
Right.
I'd say platinum alone, one-off, no. Platinum alone, owned by the Rolex CEO, that says it's the 10th million chronometer, yes.
Yes, I happen to agree. I think that while that's a crazy figure, I do think that because it's the Rolex CEO's watch, because it's the 10 millionth chronometer, that you're right, and that is cool.
You're that big of, like, everybody is obsessed with Rolex. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you the watch of the CEO of the most iconic brand in the entire world. It's like, okay, I get it. Going
down market.
I can't wait till you ask me this question.
Way far down.
Yes.
This is a Rolex Air King. This is a watch that would be worth, without the Domino's logo, this is a watch that would be worth maybe about $4,000 to $4,500. Reliably. Domino's corporate requested these watches from Rolex. I believe they were given to their owners, franchisees, or executives. They were given to people that were important at the company.
Yeah, for myriad reasons too.
And now they're worth about $18,000.
Well, that's what they're online for.
What do you think the premium should be for a Domino's Pizza Rolex, realistically? Or do you think that that's undervalued?
Well, two things. Well, what do I think it should be worth it? And is it undervalued? I have to split up, because I remember looking at Rolexes, obviously, Domino's Rolexes and stuff a few years ago, and they were basically the same price, maybe a little bit more, sometimes even a little less.
They were, reliably, they were slightly higher.
Yeah, slightly. And now seeing them for that premium, I'm like, that seems obscene.
Because you got to be a nut to spend $16,000 on a Rolex with a Domino's pizza.
Take away the pizza logo, and it's a $4,000 watch.
It's not cool like Pan Am. You know what I mean? Like Pan Am's a cool company. It's an airline. This is just bad pizza.
Well, it's appealing to the level of people that now want to be so different, and this is the different thing that's rising up right now. But
what I will say, and I think this watch is cool, and I'm sure someone out there watching this has this watch. I think that's great. God bless you. I think it's a great watch. You probably have a good sense of humor, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
But you know what is funny? If your idea of individuality is throwing a Domino's pizza logo on your very boring Rolex, that's not.
Yeah.
And when I say very boring Rolex, I love Air Kings. I love Oyster Perpetuals. 100%.
Yeah, of course.
Michael has a Rolex Explorer that I make fun of all the time because it's an incredibly boring watch.
It is.
And then when we were at the airport, I wanted to try it on because it's so nice.
Exactly.
Right? But it's boring. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true.
Those two things can exist at the same time.
I think going back to the Winn-Dixie Rolex too, I was gonna get one not too long ago for like 45, 46 or something like that. And it's just because Domino's is the hotter brand, but the actual design of the Winn-Dixie watch, I thought looked fantastic.
Yep.
The Domino's one really just looks like a
Domino's
placed
logo.
home. Yeah.
Okay, so far with the Yacht-Master, you've got, okay, well, you need to be a major executive at a brand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With the Domino's, you need to be a major corporate partner, buying probably thousands of watches at a time.
A lot of dough.
Another one, we're going to go back in time here because that was in the 80s. We're going to go back into the 1960s.
Okay.
To the Rolex reference 6542, or rather 50s into 60s, where a few were made with white dials. These were speculated to have been made for some Pan Am executives. So that reason would go in the same, right? It would be same reason as Domino's. Earlier and rarer, but same reason. A corporate partner said, hey, Rolex, could you make us some special watches?
But not just any corporate partner, because what is Pan Am's relationship to Rolex?
Well, Pan Am is who Rolex was in collaboration with when they made the 6542, the original GMT, the first reference GMT master in their history.
So that's kind of being like, hey, Rolex, we made possibly your most famous watch of all time. Like,
make us a rare one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Right. So far, unless you are the CEO of Rolex or running a major corporate partner, you cannot get a custom Rolex. Okay?
Right.
But that's just one brand. A quick message from our sponsor of today's video, our friends over at Squarespace.
Yeah. Do you need a website or domain?
I don't, but as you all know, I have many times in the past, and every time I have turned to my friends over at Squarespace. Not only is Squarespace incredibly easy to use and super affordable, but the websites that it yields are both functional. That goes without being said. They're incredibly functional and intuitive, but they're so beautiful. When end viewers, when end consumers, your target clients ultimately are on your website reviewing, whether it's your product or your work or your portfolio or whatever it may be, they would say, wow, this individual, this company has resources.
Yeah, they built a site. It's dynamic, it's fluid.
This does not look like a chop shop or like a little mom and dad, business. This looks beautiful. This looks like they really care. Like it's just perfectly put together.
Yeah.
So Squarespace has been an invaluable asset to me for the last 8 years. If it wasn't for Squarespace, I certainly would not be here. And I don't only recommend you use Squarespace if you're just starting a new website now. I'm telling everyone out there that already has their website to take a look at Squarespace, because they can. I feel very confident when I say this. They can do better for you, and frankly, for cheaper. So why not raise the bar of your business? Why not invest a little bit of time to make your online profile, maybe your most important profile, right? More beautiful, more functional, more profitable. So I am a very proud partner of Squarespace.
Yeah, and it's easier than ever to actually set up your site. You can use Squarespace's new Fluid engine to just drag and drop things. You can schedule blog posts, and if you want a physical store or have a physical store, they have a point of sale system that you can link right into your website.
It's terrific.
Yeah, so you can go to squarespace.com/Theo Harris to save 10% off your first order of a website or domain.
All right, thank you to Squarespace. Back into custom watches. I have one more Rolex I want to show you, and this is a debatable one. I don't know if this is quite custom, okay?
Okay.
This is a Rolex reference 16528. This is
extremely rare and highly attractive yellow gold chronograph wristwatch with a blue dial and bracelet.
Yes, this is a Rolex Daytona in solid yellow gold with a Zenith movement. Okay, back in the day before Rolex had their own in-house automatic winding chronograph, they were using Zenith El Primero base, modifying it heavily, but they were still using that. This is a watch that sold for $300,000, which is about a $250,000 premium for the dial, which means you are paying $250,000 for that dial.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now what is the history behind this watch? These watches ended up in the hands of Rolex executive leaders.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
So very similar to Domino's, very similar to Pan Am.
Sure.
Right? Internally, very similar to the Yacht-Master, internal.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But that's what we've come to learn, probably not the story. What seems to be the story is Rolex was testing dials, prototype dials, in colors.
Yes, okay, sure.
Ended up with this blue dial that they decided to not serially produce. They decided to not put this blue dial in their catalog, but had a batch of them.
Okay.
And a couple of the internal leaders at Rolex, executive management, liked them and decided to put them in their own Rolexes, buy Rolex Daytonas, and have these special watches.
That's a boss move.
It's a boss move,
Yes.
but it is not a custom order.
No, it is not.
Because you were not involved in the development of it. It was not made for you.
Yes.
It was made specially, and then you took it.
You took it from the back room.
So that is not technically custom. That is limited, unreleased.
Unreleased, limited, yeah.
And rare, and again, $250,000 premium. Notice how these are all very nuanced, right? All these things are very nuanced. What's the difference between limited and custom? All these things are very nuanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interestingly, I would say what you're paying for, obviously CEO is the biggest of the biggest. You think of like more of a lone wolf type of guy. This, 1991, like Rolex execs, you think like Wolf of Wall Street type guys.
100%.
That's the market you're appealing to versus the CEO market. You're like,
100%.
I'm in like the inner circle of like the bros at Rolex.
100%. I mean, look at the difference in culture between the Pan Am days and now this. This you want a solid gold Daytona.
Yeah, exactly.
Like diamond Daniesa.
You know exactly the guys that all were like, let's get solid gold Daytonas and put these dials in.
Totally.
You can picture that.
By the way, undervalued Rolex, I still think, is the precious metal Daytonas on leather band. I was offered one yesterday in yellow. I was offered that watch for $19,000.
Really?
Yes, I almost bought it.
What's the dial?
It was. To be fair, by the time it was offered and by the time it was sold, probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and I saw it, and not to say I would have bought it, I might have, but in between, it was sold so quickly because it was a good deal.
Yeah,
and
it's a fantastic deal.
Yeah, you would need to obviously source a strap, source a buckle. It would have been a pain in the ass. So the buckle especially, I was like, you can end up spending $2,000 on the buckle.
But it's cool.
You know?
You wouldn't even want it just to toss like a regular suede strap on it? Beat up gray suede strap?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. Wow. It's a nice watch though.
Oh, what was the dial?
White.
White.
Yeah, but what was special about precious metal Daytonas is the dials are all Arabic numerals.
Oh, right,
So that never happened in steel, I believe. It was only available in precious metal. Which
did drop the value a little bit, right? People didn't like the dial as much?
No, maybe, yeah. I don't know that to be true, but maybe. Wow. Okay, here's another one. This is maybe the craziest premium so far. Okay.
Yep.
And this is the first we're gonna see that is going to begin the next half of our video.
Okay. Yep.
Which is all about not people that are involved in corporations, not people on the inside of Rolex, not people that are in the inside of Domino's or Pan Am. Okay. This is private clients. So I'm going to start off with the beefiest private client there maybe has ever been.
Yes, okay? Maybe there ever will be.
Maybe there ever will be. I think that's actually probably true.
Yep.
Henry Graves Jr. I thought he was an American lawyer, but Michael corrected me that he's an American banker.
Big banker.
In the early 20th century, and in the early 1920s, he ordered a watch that was finished in 1925 from a little known brand that made kind of like difficult to make watches. It's called Patek Philippe.
Oh yes, yeah.
This is when Patek Philippe was still under original management, not owned by the Stern family, who currently owns them now. This watch sold for $15,000 to Mr. Graves Jr.
In 1920s.
In 1920s. Take a guess what that is adjusted for inflation now. I already told you, so if your guess is wrong.
$264,000.
Yeah, $264,000 adjusted for inflation. And a couple of years ago, it sold for $24 million, which is an absolute record-breaking watch.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a pocket watch. This is wild.
Yes.
Let me tell you a little bit about this watch.
Yes, please.
It has 24 different horological complications. Okay, it took 7 years to make, rather beginning in 1925, not ending. I apologize. And it's just obviously cased in solid 18-karat yellow gold.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a celestial complication, there's minute repeater complication, there's calendar complications. Everything here is there. Everything you could have is there.
Yeah.
This is a full. It's almost like an iPhone.
I want everything that
iPhone.
you can do. Right.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Poetic story. The whole who knows exactly the correct wording, but Henry Graves Jr. wanted to be able to look up at the stars and also see it on his pocket watch. That was a big thing for him.
Exactly.
I think the view of when he left. I don't know what bank he was at, but when he left that bank, it was that view.
Well, do you know where he was from?
No.
Do you want to take a guess?
New York City.
Nope.
Chicago.
Nope. Stop. Think. Don't think about me. Don't think about what you've learned from Theo and Harris. Think if you were growing up as a little boy in East Sandwich.
Yeah.
The richest guy in the world had this watch. Where did he live?
The richest guy in the world had this watch? I would say New York.
Really? I thought Concord, Mass.
Really?
Concord, Mass.
Concord, that's where my girlfriend's from.
I know. That's a very wealthy area.
Well, I didn't know Concord existed until I was like 20.
Well, I just figured. Okay,
Yeah.
You know.
It's an incredibly wealthy area.
Yeah, incredibly wealthy area. Michael's always told me I had to visit because I would love the architecture, you've always said.
Yes.
So maybe one day we'll take a little girls trip, you and me.
Just you and me, driving down the highway.
So anyway, he's from Concord, Mass, banker, and he collected this incredible collection of Patek Philippe's.
Wow.
This is not his only commission. And again, it brings us into this conversation of, okay, individuals can and have always been able to order custom pieces.
Yes.
If you go back in time even further than Mr. Graves, I imagine that a lot of this industry, like many industries, luxury industries, started with commission work.
Oh yeah, a lot of them. I think it was like George Washington had his watch commissioned by an American watchmaker. It was like much more the style to get a watch commissioned.
Yes.
Which, before we changed subjects, speaking of Henry Graves, did you hear about what happened like shortly after? Like 10 years after with all the banks?
Nope.
Oh my God, dude. And then
was there a problem?
Yeah, there was a huge problem. Like 10 years after the 1920s.
You're kidding.
No, you didn't know about this?
Oh my God.
All of a sudden, everybody wanted to get their money from the banks and they couldn't get it.
Oh no.
And the stocks were doing terrible.
Was Mr. Graves all right?
I don't know.
You're like, they ate him.
Do you know what I'm referencing?
Yes, of course. Great Depression.
Oh, that's also, yeah.
This tradition continues into modernity.
Yes.
Patek Philippe, I don't know if they're still doing custom pieces at the moment, at least
Really?
publicly. I've heard
Wow.
that they've really cracked down on it because people have sold a couple of their custom pieces and that pisses them off.
Yes.
But in Talking Watches 2 with John Mayer, he discussed at least one of the Pateks that he had made custom. Of course they still do that, or have done it recently.
Yeah.
That is the epitome, or the peak rather, of luxury, right? To have something that reflects yourself.
Right. He had his hands loomed, right? Hands loomed, and then his name on the back.
Split-second perpetual calendar chronograph. He had his hands loomed.
So he could see it when he plays guitar?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, exactly. I was saying exactly. Now, another brand that has done it, and always did it, but really is doing it a lot more now, and maybe to a point of where it's kind of making it not as special, is Cartier.
To the point where very fabulous people that get these watches are now competing with each other on who can have the cooler Cartier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Crash and the Cintre being, I believe, the two most popular watches that are made custom, designed custom.
Okay.
Also, they do the Asymmetrique. I've seen quite a few, but those are the two most popular. Again, the bar is lowered now. Okay, you don't need to be Henry Graves to get a custom Cartier.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
You need to kind of be in a little cutesy, kind of like friendship with Cartier. You need to be, somebody, I presume, like somebody of some, amount of money. Not you don't need to you probably don't need to be super rich. You don't need to be Henry Graves, but you need to be somebody.
Yeah.
And have some friends. That's ultimately what
I was
going to
say. Do you think there's a level of, you don't need to be Henry Graves, but you need to be able to bring the brand to other people in some form and have a good amount of money behind
Something like that. I think it's very much a friend. It's like a friend of a friend thing, and it's very much. I don't know. I'm not involved in that circle. Unfortunately, I haven't been invited to the club, and I'd like to believe that, unlike Howard Stern, one day when I am invited to the club, I don't betray all of you. I like to believe that is the case, and I do believe that firmly. But this brings us into our next conversation, which is everyone else like me, right? Me, men of the people, men of the people. That say, you know what? Maybe I won't be allocated a custom watch from Cartier or from these other brands, or I'm not a leader of Rolex. I'm not all these things.
I don't work at Domino's.
I can do custom on my own. The watch on your wrist, unlike your iPad, will mean something to someone one day if it doesn't already. Something that will make them smile, walk a little taller, surely at some point cry, but it will mean something. Which brings us to one of the earliest companies to do it, Bamford. I won't spend too much time on this conversation, but Bamford watch became very, popular for these custom Rolexes, matte black, matte gray. They did some cartoon watches, which I think were pretty tasteless.
A bit more sporty, a bit more modern than what we'll see in a second.
I think that Bamford got a bad rap because they have no taste.
Oh, okay.
I think that customization, similar to the Patek push and pull, right? Like when John Mayer wanted to put lume on his watch, Patek was like, ugh! And they let him do it because it wasn't the biggest offense in the world.
Right.
But they were voicing objection.
Right.
Just because we're allowing you to do this on your own doesn't mean there's no regulation.
It's the whole issue with if you have a brand centered around custom products, custom suiting, custom whatever it may be, you have to kind of rely on the clients to make your brand continue to look good.
Yes.
Or you have to highly limit something. Because if someone can make a disgusting suit, and that's still the name of your brand as they walk around.
Well, that's actually interesting that you bring that up. There's an awesome film out there called, oh my God, Yacht-Master. O''Mast. If you're interested in tailoring, go watch this film. It's really, really fantastic. It's available on YouTube, I believe. And one of the points in Yacht-Master, and they're looking at historical tailoring homes. The greatest tailor is in Italy. And one of the tailors says, I have an idea of who you are, and I won't sell you something that I don't believe that you should be wearing. And he had an example of one of his greatest clients wanted to buy something that he didn't think fit his character, and he looked at him and said, you are, and he pointed or referenced a judge, a very famous kind of, powerful judge.
Yeah.
You are him. You're not him. You are this man. Embody this,
Yeah.
Because just because this is custom, doesn't mean I'm gonna let you do everything.
Yeah,
I think that's where Bamford went wrong. It was kind of custom gone awry. I've seen it happen at Cartier lately as well. I think that some people have done some ugly designs.
Really?
Yeah, but Bamford did start something.
Yes.
It definitely did, and some of them actually were quite nice. Now, who perfected it?
Artisans de Geneve?
Artisans de
Geneve?
Perfected this customization. They don't do simple customization. They don't do mattes. They don't do colors.
It took it from basically being like, okay, that you like changed the Rolex a little bit. I see that you changed the hands, you changed the actual case or something like that. And then you look at Artisans de Geneve and you're like, you made this watch better. This is cool.
You made it. It's borderline horology now. You took something that is fairly simple and you made it. You put more man hours into this watch than ever intended.
Exactly.
They're rather expensive. Artisans de Geneve is obviously billing you for the R&D. They're billing you for all of this.
Everything.
They're billing you for a ton. They're not just saying, oh well, it takes 14 hours to mat the watch. They're saying, we had to work with.
We had to rebuild. We had to repolish. We had to change this. Get this custom. I remember we talked about the blue Smurf watch or whatever Artisans de Geneve called it, but it was just like the research they went into to pick the correct blue even was a ton of work.
I would do an Artisans de Geneve. It is application process. You apply to be a client and hopefully they accept you at some point. They are based in Geneva. I walked past their boutique when I was in Geneva.
Wow,
I don't think that they're all great, but I think that they're all interesting.
Yeah.
And some of them are just truly breathtaking. I really, really like them.
Have they been sued?
Well, so the legal kind of runaround is they do not sell Rolex. You have to buy a Rolex and send it to them.
Okay.
And then they will do custom work on your Rolex.
Okay,
or
and that's
Patek,
fine.
for that matter. I believe it's only Rolex and Patek.
Yeah.
And that is their model in a nutshell.
Obviously, it voids your warranty.
The question is, realistically speaking,
Yes.
would you want a custom watch, and what brand would you want to go through to have it done?
Would I want a custom watch and what brand? It's a fantastic question. I've been trying to think of a watch. I told you about the wedding where I realized that sometimes a sports watch isn't all you want, especially if you're looking at a sports watch that's 80 years old. They tend not to age as well as a dress watch on an alligator strap or something like that. You could switch the strap. So I would originally say Rolex, but then I would lean more towards VC or Patek.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, okay, that is something that I know. If I'm getting a custom watch from one of these brands and I plan to actually really pass it down, and I don't want a flexed out watch or something like that, that's the watch where if it says Michael Christie at the bottom or Mr. Christie, that's insane.
That is
so
insane.
That's where I'd go.
Yeah. Obviously getting a custom watch from one of those brands would be impossible.
I'd also have to own a bank or something.
Right. So I was thinking more realistically speaking, what would you be willing to do, right? Do you see my point?
Yeah. What would I be willing?
I could say Cartier, but I don't think I'd be willing to do what I would need to do to get the custom Cartier. I would need to really put a lot of effort into networking and getting a watch that I just don't think it's worth it for me. I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I hate standing on lines, as you guys know. I just don't do it. To me, it's not worth it.
I guess then specifically if we're looking at me and not me on a yacht with that watch.
Yes.
I would say...
And I could say 10, 15-year plan.
Yeah, of course. I would say now, looking at my job and meeting all these different brands, a brand that I make friends with, that eventually we'd be able to do something like this together, would probably be where we are right now.
Yeah, I agree. And this video is not sponsored by Nomos, by the way, but we're here, and it definitely kind of brought up this whole idea of customization.
Yeah.
And it brought up this whole, kind of thought that, oh yeah, that's right. Smaller brands do this as well.
Yeah.
It's not common. Nomos does not do it for clients willy-nilly.
Yeah, right.
But they do it for small groups of people. They've done it for clubs. In the orders of 25 or 50, and you start to say, wow, how cool would that be to really design, to bring your color, not just your color, but they alter watches. They'll move where the seconds are. They'll make it a destro. They'll make it a left-hand watch.
What we saw was just
insane.
So cool.
So that to me is really interesting and creative, and you kind of go from watch enthusiast to wow, I actually got to be a part of the designing. I got to be a part of the construction in a way.
And meeting the brands changes everything. And we always say we go to a brand and then you get obsessed with it. It's 100%. And especially Nomos, they're so nice. You're like, oh, yeah, let's do something together.
The problem is, if you've got 25 guys that you're going to do that with.
Do they all want your name on the watch?
Well, it's 25 cooks in the kitchen. You know, whereas, if I were to do it or if Theo and Harris were to do it, then you say, oh, okay, we'll retail them and you can do it. And I don't know if we'll ever do that. I haven't decided whether we'll ever do that, but I certainly will tell you that the idea of designing a watch, is incredible. Even if you break even, it's just like, wow, the thing on my wrist, like the only people that have it in the world are connected to that experience.
Yeah, right.
That's it. And if you have it, you are connected to that memory that I have. And if you're not, otherwise you just don't.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I agree fully.
It's a really cool experience.
So what's your brand?
It's a good question.
You're like probably Patek or VC.
Yeah, no, like it definitely would never be Patek. Like it just wouldn't be. It would never happen. Like I can't ever see it happening with VC either. I don't know. It's a good question. But definitely a small brand.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know what I could see? A small brand like Nomos, right? I mean, you know what I could definitely see? I could see myself, because I'm a custom guy.
Yeah.
I don't really see myself getting the tap from a brand to do a custom watch, but I could totally see myself customizing a watch. Like I could see myself buying a really good Calatrava, let's say for $15,000, and making it my, hobby's mission, not my life's mission, but my hobby's mission.
That'd be a crazy life's mission.
To have a custom enamel dial made. And even if that enamel dial cost me $20,000, what an exciting experience to say, this is a one of one. The dial is not Patek Philippe.
Yep.
The dial is made by this enamel manufacturer, this artisan that I know, that just did the most incredible work. And I'm so lucky to have this. And we designed it together. And yeah, they made money off of me, and God bless them.
Yeah.
But how cool. That would be like that would probably be it for me.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, because again, like I don't know that I'd ever even get a enamel. Like we're talking about enamel Pateks this week.
Yeah.
Those are wild too, and I don't know. It's very hard. But I love the idea of custom. I love the idea of I'm not as artistic as you are, and I'm not as artistic as a lot of the people I look up to. And I say like I'd like to be a part of the process a little bit if I can.
Yeah.
Do you mind? If I
just do this?
pipe in a little bit?
Yeah, right.
So almost like a enthused school kid.
Yeah.
So that would be it for me. But anyway, if you want a custom watch, my advice to you basically is look for smaller brands. Push the envelope with them. Develop a relationship. I really feel that a lot of brands would be grateful to have another collector. I don't think that the small brands are used to having people who collect them, people who care about them deeply. Because even the people that buy their watches oftentimes are wishing they had something else, right? Whereas, if you really have a deep relationship with a brand, a smaller brand, you don't know what's possible. Great things are possible.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a 10-year journey. I think that could happen in a matter of a couple of years.
I would fully agree.
And like imagine flying to Geneva or flying to Glashütte and like meeting the people that you've been corresponding with, and
hand you your watch.
Handing you your watch, and you go out to dinner and you have like the most geeky experience of all time. Like, isn't that what it's all about?
There's some Nomos we saw where I'm just like, wow, I would do that right now. I'd do it for 20, 30 grand, one of those watches.
Totally.
100%. Be like,
insane.
yeah, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Terrific conversation, Big Mike.
Fantastic, yes.
To our future custom watches. Cheers.